Continuing our monthly series of Brandstand Conversations, we shift our focus on the all-important domain of out-of-home advertising, the measures being taken to bring in measurement and transparency, and how despite some of the negatives, marketers can't do without the medium. Let's get straight into the discussion.
The outdoor sector is booming right now. How has it evolved according to you over the years?
I think we've evolved a long way. You must understand that way back in the 80s, Unilever had a program called the IHP, which is the Integrated Hoarding Plan, which basically allowed them to display their messages every month on a standard 20 by 10 across India, and that bought about 1,000 sites. So that really, I think, was the first initiative from a client to sort of push the anvil on the out-of-home space. So it has evolved considerably. There's a lot of research today, together with media that allows you to evaluate the parameters of the billboard, how good is the site, the reach and frequency. All of those has made a huge difference right now.
You moved on from the outdoor sector to all other areas of advertising. How do you view outdoor vis-a-vis the rest?
I'll be a little critical over here, is that there's very little accountability on the medium in terms of research, reach and frequency, cost per thousand evaluation, like you do with other media. And that's really been the bone of contention between the out-of-home industry and the rest, which has sort of progressed substantially. And I think the lack of any research to be able to tell you what the reach and frequency, even just basic cost per thousand reach, is something that is troubling both the clients, the industry, and all of the suppliers together. And if you compare that to the West, for example, wherever research has been instituted in any country, the spends have sort of quadrupled, because there is some authenticity to what you do in terms of being able to back the medium.
Soumitra, in terms of ad spends, outdoor accounts for possibly just a sixth of the entire ad spend pie. Is this because advertisers are not too comfortable with the sector? They don't have enough trust in it?
Actually, that's true. And like Pratap said, ultimately investments are going to be made when the client is sure about what he is doing and he understands where he's putting his money into. Unfortunately, we do not have an industry syndicated research or a matrix. All agencies have their own sort of tools to sort of tell the client that, okay, you spent so much and you've got this return. But unless there is an industry syndicated research, I don't think investments are going to be made, because obviously questions of bias and all that is going to come in. The other most important factor why this industry is where it is because there aren't any entry barriers. Anybody can come and put up a hoarding and he's in the business. Now, unless you have a regulation and you have a standardization, you can't just progress. So that's been the bane.
Karthi, despite whatever has been said earlier, the fact of the matter is that Kona Kotak, continues to add on billboards across the country. So you obviously are a believer in the sector.
Oh, absolutely. And thanks for mentioning Kona Kotak. Of all the campaigns that we've ever done, this one certainly, by the very nature of the message, it needed to be visible and outdoor. That's a given, right? Every Kona, I had to be there. So that, at the very least, that's the reason. But I think we've always believed that outdoor has value, because I think some of the things that outdoor can give me, particularly in the affluent segments, which is where we are hearing and seeing that they are reading print very little, their consumption of television seems to be anecdotal at best, and the meters will not tell us whether they are watching or not. All of them are traveling in their fancy cars up and down the city to hundreds of meetings and hundreds of social gatherings, and we are betting on that, and we're betting that we'll catch them on the street more often than we'll catch them at home or at work.
And this is despite the fact that you are aware that there's not much measurement available, there's not much research available.
The measurement and research is not top-notch, is not comparable to some of the other metrics that some of the other media may have on a relative basis, but we compensate for it with our own measurement. So, for example, when we do our brand track, we will specifically track for how particularly out-of-home has contributed to the brand metrics of recall and recognition of the brand and so on. So we do that on the one hand. Having said that, let me also cut these gentlemen some slack and say that we make a big deal of the fact that measurement is robust in print and television. But I think we've seen in the last few years that even that has come up for a lot of debate and discussion. So I'm not so sure outdoor is alone in not being measurable and accountable.
I think we started this conversation saying, there were a lot of malices in the medium and lack of accountability. But honestly, clients are still using it and using it consistently, right? So all of the clients can't be wrong. I think it depends. It's very useful when you're centralized, when you want to just look at a Bombay or a Delhi vis-a-vis print or television because of the spillage. So, the cellular services, when mobile started coming in, and the Vodafones and the Airtel started using it, they're obviously using it for a purpose, and it's working. So I'd sort of correct that and say, yes, there isn't enough measurement as we'd like it to be, but at the same time, I think it also works.
You can't take away one fact from out of home, which is it's very local. Whatever you do, it's so local, and nowadays the message you're trying to go and reach that customer and touch that customer, outdoor is there.
And perhaps that's the reason why you have the outdoor sector getting possibly the first affected whenever there's a bit of a slowdown.
I wouldn't say that it affects outdoors per se. It affects the marketing budget. First thing that anybody snips is the marketing budget, and in it, outdoor plays a part in it because we don't have probably a robust measurement mechanism. Obviously, that's the first thing that cannot be justified properly, and that we get hit.
Now, for the last 15 years, we've been talking about having a robust mechanism. You have some very discerning players now in the outdoor sector. The international players have come in. Nothing seems to be happening.
You see, it's not about one or two international players coming in. If something has to be done in terms of measurement, it's the onus of the media owners to do that. As agencies, I don't think we can drive that. It's the media owners who has to do this and channelize this research or whatever needs to be done about it.
What is your view, Pratap?
I don't think so. I think if you remember, I think Rhoda Mehta, who was the sort of media don in the early 90s when we were in Ogilvy, the first research in this country was OSCAR, which is the Outdoor Sites Classification and Audience Research. And what she got to do was to talk to the Unilever and then the Philips and 3 or 4 large advertisers of the medium to invest in it strategically and work with a research agency to come out with it. And till date, in my opinion, that's still been the best ever research because it got you everything in terms of reach, frequency, cost per thousand, everything. It needed funding. So I think to your point, it needs funding. I don't really care where the funding comes from.
Karthi, Pratap just mentioned about consortium of clients. Is this something that you would like to possibly look at investing in?
I'm already spending so much on out of home. We would be happy to support anything that will make our work more measurable and accountable so that the boardroom conversations are so much more straightforward. We have to obviously do it in a calibrated fashion. So in the context of Bark, for example, clients aren't being asked to pony up, right? It's the industry that is doing the work, and we are reaping the benefit of it. But like Pratap earlier said, as soon as something is measurable and accountable, you will see investments grow. So it is between the industry, between the agency industry and the owner industry of the medium, between them they have to figure out a meaningful way in which to do this.
Great. At this point, we'll take a short break. We'll be back again with lots more about transparency, about our people trusting the various outdoor agencies and the like. Pratap, the whole talk about the outdoor sector is that it's not always above board. There's a lot of issues of transparency, etc. Now, you've obviously seen this industry for a while. Is this a true thing to say?
The answer is yes. I mean, it's not something that is above board, to be honest. It's gone from bad to worse. It wasn't as bad as it is now, let's say 20 years ago. But I think it's the buyers at both ends that are often susceptible because it's quite easy to do what you want to do, and therefore it's always had that taint. I know clients really aren't really interested in that, but in the business and the community, I'd lie to you if I said it wasn't there.
But obviously the outdoor sector contributes a lot to the bottom lines of most of the media networks.
Yes, it's a profitable business. It's probably more profitable than most parts of other media if you run an effective out-of-home agency. If you would like me to give you the numbers, I can give you the numbers. it's at least a 20% margin business, aggregated over volume discounts and your buying and relationships. So compared to media, we're operating at 2.5. Even with the volume discount, it's still a profitable business.
And you say this in the presence of a client who could obviously be attempting to shave it off as much as possible.
While everything Pratap said is obviously true, I'm not very clear that this is less true for some of the other media. We all know that there is talk of particular clients having particular rates with particular channels. And from my point of view, where I'm sitting, where I'm a relatively small spender in the larger scheme of things, I feel disadvantaged. And I feel that television buying itself is not as transparent as I would like it to be. So from my point of view, I have to work very hard in this equation, and it makes our job that much harder because we'd rather be focusing on the strategy and the messaging and the customers, but we also have to be focused on counting the money. But it's not just out of home. That's the only thing I want to qualify.
Does this whole perception put you at a disadvantage when you're going out for a sales call, or when you're wanting to deliver more but they can't because there are clients who read through your the spiel?
I don't know where Pratap got his 20% number. But the fact of the matter is, in outdoor, the reality is we are not on AOR with clients at all. I mean, most of my clients are on a campaign-to-campaign basis, and I have at least 4 or 5 agencies competing with me at that point of time. So in that scenario, if I can get 20%, I mean, I think I'm doing something drastically wrong.
When I meant that, I'm between 20 and 30% operating profit margin, right? So it's not that you make 20% off the client, but as a business, it delivers you an operating profit net margin of 20%. Because all of WPP today in this country operates at 30% operating margin. Right. So it holds good for every other business as well.
The fact of the matter is that all of us are in the business of outdoor, and it's doing fairly well. So obviously the efficacy over other media is considerable. Is that something which is clearly understood with clients?
Like Karthi said, I think clients get the value of using the medium, and I think, and one advice that I'd like to give clients, and I say this quite often, is you do all of your checks and balances in terms of the rates and all of that, but clients don't focus on what the creative messaging is as much in earnest as to do with everything else. Because at the end of the day, you must realize it's the creative messaging that draws attention to the consumer. And I'd wish, because you spend so much money doing all of that, but if your messaging is wrong and you're not sort of creatively portraying what you want to do in the most creative manner, using the format that is outdoor, I think you're losing a lot of money by doing that itself.
If I can just add to that, I think it was David Ogilvy who said that you must brief first for outdoor and then get the film and the print. And we do that. We actually challenge our agencies just to bring us the 6-word or maximum 12-word outdoor creative first, and only then do we even start having a discussion about film or print, and we find that delivers great results.
So Karthi does a good job for sure, but I can't say that of every client.
Your agency handles all parts of the business. Now, do you all actually do that? Do clients come to you and say first handle outdoor and then do the rest, or is it all orchestrated well enough?
I am not too sure any client does that in this country. Where you appoint an agency to handle the medium specifically, because the demands for that creative expression is very unique. And just to give you an example, a bus shelter in Bombay looks very different to a bus shelter in Hyderabad, for example. The sizes are different, the lighting is different. So you need very different creatives for a 20 by 10 that's on the road on top of a roof side. And you need a specialized agency to adapt creative in the way it's supposed to be viewed for the medium. So that's my new proposition to clients.
Karthi, do you think agencies are really equipped to handle outdoor creative?
It's not about the agencies, it's about the team, honestly. And like I said, once we started challenging and channeling our agencies to work on the outdoor first, you saw that there was a change in the teams that worked with us until we got it right. But once they got it right, then that team has stayed on course. And there I think it sounds really banal, but there is a real tight partnership that the client and agency have to play. If the client, like these gentlemen are saying, if the client relegates outdoor as one of the last things, like digital used to be until recently, like they used to say about radio until recently, if you relegate outdoor as one of the last things you're going to do and you give it only 1 or 2% of your time, then you will obviously get that kind of output as well.
Are you telling clients that, hey, this creative doesn't work, or this billboard will not get any benefits for you?
Yes, absolutely we do that, but sometimes we are listened to and sometimes we are not. However, let me just add another dimension to it. What we are discussing is just the exposure part of the creative. But I think now outdoor is not outdoors, it's out of home. And I think creativity in the idea that you're going to sell to the client, which sort of brings the local flavor of the outdoor and gives the campaign the bang that it's needed, is what is critical now. So in which probably the visual creative which is going up on a billboard is just one part of it.
What, according to you, as a way forward for the industry?
The authorities to regulate this medium and put in laws which are standard across the country. That's the first thing that has to happen. Without that, nothing is going to change. I mean, if you don't have a standard national outdoor policy or something like that, which everybody adheres to and follows, nothing is going to change. First thing that you need is standardization and regulation. And we can't do that. I mean, the authorities will have to do that.
Pratap, do you think that's the future?
I think out of home today, if it's really got to succeed for a client, has to integrate between public relations, PR, brand activation and digital. And if you can combine the power of all three or four, then I think outdoor has a great future.
And do you think that's happening already?
It is to some extent, definitely. I think smart clients are beginning to realize that if your investment in a particular media is substantial, especially in sort of, if I can call it the fringe media, Karthi might disagree, but non-TV and non-press, let you put it that way. So if you get the whole brand activation piece, out of home, digital and PR together, working in a way that is sort of well thought of in advance, you can't just do it, once the creatives are done, then it works brilliantly.
Karthi, last word from you. What are your expectations from the intermediaries and the outdoor media owners?
I want live webcams staring at all my outdoor sites 24/7 and I won't be able to check. So to their point about accountability and measurement, I think there are steps to be taken, but the more steps that we can take which are low cost but demonstrate that we are interested in delivering authentic delivery on this medium, I think clients will get comfort from that.
Great, thank you very much for being here. It was great having you in Brands and Conversations.